soulful shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, just some soulful shit for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made this be myself, so hear me. Woo! I mean, like, we can put all that clown shit away. There's some real shit for you. I'm spazzing right now, so listen, let's go. Yeah. It's in their bones, the thugs in harmony for the love of the money. Then fall victim for the cookie, then turn pussy, it's lonely. You said you hold it down when life get rough, we're here now, so show me. We move them losses to them wins. Heavy pounds, we make it ends meet. Converse with only few who make me feel like I be 10 feet.
Yes, guys, welcome back to GTV. Big up your damn selves, guys. As always, as I always say, when we enter into the channel, make sure you smash that like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe to the bloody channel. Big up to everybody who is locked in. You guys already know what we're here to talk about. I've already done, 2 previous videos, speaking on, the contract kind of situation, at Liverpool Football Club. So we spoke about Mohamed Salah, at first, and his kind of, situation. We've spoken about Trent Alexander-Arnold, and now today we're here to talk about Virgil van Dijk. It is crazy, as I mentioned before, the sheer fact that I'm even doing this video. As I said before, I'm hoping that by the time this third video comes out, that the whole situation's already sorted out. That's the ideal dream, and then everyone's going to be like, under the comment section, oh yeah, no, don't worry, G, it's already done, blah, all of that kind of good stuff. But I know likelihood probably is that it's not going to be that, kind of thing. So we're here to talk about it. And again, this is just my 2 cents. This is just my kind of thoughts and opinions, on the kind of whole situation. Now, we've got Virgil van Dijk. He's 33 years of age. One of the best centre-backs in world football, signed from Southampton. Absolutely fantastic signing for Liverpool. Brilliant. I really don't know what more I can even say in terms of him as a player. Funnily enough, and again, it's a bit like the whole Mo Salah kind of thing. When he signed, not that I didn't want him. He wasn't the guy I was looking at though. I think they had Fonte at the time. I'm sure they had Fonte. Was it Fonte? No, Jose. Yeah, Fonte. I'm sure it's Fonte. I'll have a little Jose Fonte. They had Jose Fonte in the team. They obviously had Dejan Lovren. And those are the 2. I think they even had Yoshida. I feel like they even had someone like Yoshida. And I feel like I looked at all 3 of those and I never really looked at Virgil van Dijk. Like, I don't know why, but I just always thought, now I want one of those 3. And I'm sure Fonte was the one that I really wanted at the time, Portuguese international. And I thought, yeah, now let's get him. Like, he's sick. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Hey, listen, this is why I'm probably not working for the recruitment team at Liverpool Football Club, because, of course, we've seen what Virgil van Dijk has, gone on to win at Liverpool. But I think it even goes beyond what he's won. A bit like Salah, it goes beyond that, because no matter what, they're still great at what they do. They're really good at what they do at the bare minimum. They're still one of the best players in their positions, even when the team ain't really popping like that. Bit like the whole Steph Curry thing. Steph Curry going to be shooting threes regardless of what, Clay and Dre and all of these guys are doing. You know what I mean? It's all relevant. They could do what they're doing. That's cool. But guess what? I'm going to be shooting these threes. You guys just need to, catch up, because they always maintain a level for themselves. Because when you guys like a Salah, like a Virgil van Dijk, these kind of players, Alisson, it doesn't really matter what the team is doing. Obviously, they're going to have bad games. And I've seen everyone at Liverpool, Alisson, Van Dijk, Trent, Salah, I've seen all of them have bad games, right? But those are few and far between, kind of thing. These kind of players, they've got a standard that they kind of have set, and they rarely, like very rarely, go below that kind of standard in whatever kind of metric or whatever way you kind of want to see it. They do have that standard, right? So when we're looking at someone like Virgil van Dijk, he's just maintained this, almost won the Ballon d'Or. And I mean, listen, hey, this might be where my bias comes into it. And I said before in previous shows, leave your bias at the door. But I think, I'm going to say, I feel like most people thought that he should have won it. You know what I mean? Maybe that is just me being biased. And I apologize for doing so, because that sounds like I'm being a bit of a hypocrite. So if that is, then fairs. But in my opinion, I felt like he did have the best year. If that's how we're judging it, in terms of a year and in a calendar year or in a season, or however it is that they did it at that time, because I think they have changed in terms of how they score it and stuff like that. But if that's how they judged it, in my opinion, he was the best player. But listen, he came second. It is what it is, kind of thing. And I think that's when people really looked at Virgil van Dijk, and myself included, and we said, Jesus Christ, this player, best defender. You know, the awards were just stacking up for Virgil van Dijk. You know, and listen, I totally think that he deserved all of these awards. You know, I don't think it's a case of, oh, he didn't deserve it. No, he totally did. So, you know, big up to him, you know, in that regards. And the type of player that he is, I feel like he may fall into that Mo Salah category where you are sitting there thinking, hey, you know what? These kind of guys, they can go on for a little while longer. Now, obviously, as I said before, we know what it's like, or we think we know what it's like with Michael Edwards, you know, being back at the club with Richard Hughes, FSG, the way that these guys kind of do things. Players over the age of 30, maybe they don't want to be giving these guys long contracts. Maybe they don't want to be, you know, giving them so much money and stuff like that, especially at this age. You've got a 32 and 33-year-old on top of a 25-year-old who's going to want to ask for the belly as well. Can Liverpool afford to say, well, we can pay at least two of these guys 350 to 400k and maybe the other guy 300? That's a lot of money. You know, that's like almost a mil a week just for those three players, on top of then everybody else who may potentially want to ask for increases. So again, it is a bit of a tricky situation, but I think it all depends on how long you think that this player can maintain that standard. So even if at their worst they maintain that standard, which is still better than most people, if you feel that this player can keep that for, let's say, 2-3 years, then these guys are going to sign extensions, or at least in terms of Mo and Virgil van Dijk, just because of their age. Trent, obviously, you know, he's only 25, so he can still, you know, get a lot better. But if these guys can maintain that level of standard, you just sign into a new deal, you know, kind of thing. I know, again, I think the problem that I'm seeing at Liverpool Football Club, again, is that I don't really see succession planning. That is just, I don't know what it is, man. Maybe I'm seeing it and it's just not being seen in the way that I've seen it at other football clubs, you know, kind of thing. Like maybe I'm not seeing the Beckham leaving with Ronaldo, who's already kind of coming and he's the next one up. Maybe I'm not seeing the Phil Foden and David Silva, you know, kind of thing. Maybe I'm not really seeing, you know, whoever else you kind of want to throw in there. Like maybe I'm just not seeing it in that kind of way, you know, so to speak, because obviously you've got such an iconic player in whatever position it is. Trying to follow that act is always going to be difficult, especially the type of player that Virgil van Dijk is. So when you've kind of got that, I feel like you do need a succession plan. But just like the right wing area, I almost feel like we don't want to touch that area of the pitch, because it's almost like, one, the player stays fit anyway, barring obviously Van Dijk having that stupid injury from Pickford. Other than that, he's not had any like major injuries or even injuries or been out for like a massive period of time, or, you know, he keeps relatively fit and he's a fit individual. So maybe you just think they can keep playing as long as they're fit, they can always keep playing. That it's not really a problem. And we don't think there's anybody better in that position, or anybody who's close to being better or could be better. So we just rather keep it at that. Then I'm like, well, eventually the player's got to leave. So unless you think that this player is still 16 years of age and you think maybe in 3 years' time at the age of 36, you know, this player might be this guy, I feel like we need to start seeing a succession plan. Now, whether they thought a Konate, you know, kind of thing, Joe Gomez, you know, these are all players. I'm not saying that, forget that they play right-sided centre-back, just in terms of them being the centre-backs at the football club. I think maybe they potentially looked at those two, but Joe Gomez looks like he might be leaving again. By the time of this video, he might have already left the football club. Konate can't stay fit. Kwanzaa coming through, he may be one to potentially look out for the future. Potentially, he's a good defender. I like him. So I don't know. I mean, you've got other defenders out there. You know, Antonio Silva from Benfica, good defender. Bastoni from Inter Milan, he's a very good defender. Lukiba, he's a Lukeba, however you want to pronounce it. He's another good defender. Moved to RB Leipzig from Lyon. Those are like three defenders that we've seen out there. I know Inacio Hincapié, you know, from Bayern Leverkusen. There are players out there. It's just obviously how you see it. And of course, it then needs to, you know, fit to what the manager is, of course, trying to do, you know, kind of thing. So if you then think the manager wants a certain type of defender, you know, he might want a left-footed defender. So then that's when you look at the Inacios, the Bastonis, you know, those type of players. So obviously all those things have to come into play. But when we're looking at just Virgil van Dijk in his entirety, I am a little bit like, again, Liverpool might just be stuck between a rock and a hard place, when it comes to someone like him. As I said before, all three of these players may sign a deal, so it may not even matter. It literally may not even matter, in terms of us speaking about it. But I do think it is a conversation to be had, just because I feel like this is a very unique kind of situation. It's almost like Antonio Rudiger in his last season at Chelsea. They just were full. I don't know what happened there, but then he ends up obviously moving on a free to Real Madrid, and it's like, do you really want to do that? Because then now we've seen him at Real Madrid. He's still going. He's one of the best defenders in the world right now. He's literally one of the best defenders in the world. Him and Van Dijk, for me, are like tying positions. Throw Saliba in there if you want, if that makes Arsenal fans feel happy. But those three at least are defenders I'm looking at and saying, yeah, Ruben Diaz is another one. Like, these are like the best defenders out there in the world right now. And Rudiger is still doing his thing, at Real Madrid. So if that's the case, that's why I do look at it and just think to myself, if that's the case and all of these guys are still doing their thing, especially a Rudiger at that kind of age, do Liverpool see it that way? Potentially. Are they then willing to put the money up for someone like a Virgil van Dijk? There's going to be so many questions in and around this. And for me, I'm going to say, again, if the player's performing, then there's not really much to really talk about. You just get them to sign the deal, and that's it. You know what I mean? We move. We literally move, from that kind of thing, and just think, okay, well, if they're still performing and they're still performing at a high level and they still are able to maintain that kind of standard, looks like we just keep them to a new deal. I know people don't want to hear it because of the age and stuff like that, but it's going to be more difficult trying to find someone if you can't go out and get a Bastoni. Because we know Liverpool, unless Liverpool are willing to just drop the crazy money, which we don't want to do, then your options are so limited. They are so limited. Now you really are trying to do the whole manager can develop players prop. Yeah, I hear all of that, but there's some players you just can't develop to a level. There's just some players who are going to just be at whatever level that they're at this current moment in time, and that's it. That might just be fine for whatever it is, but you may need someone who's going to go a bit more above and beyond. So I feel like it's a tricky situation that Liverpool are in, and it is a situation that, as I said before, poor succession planning, poor just behind the scenes planning. And again, regardless of whether they sign a deal or not sign a deal, it's still poor from Liverpool to be in this position that three of your best players are in this position that we may just leave. We may just leave. We kind of want to see how, what do you mean we kind of want to see how things are going? Forget all of that. Forget that. They shouldn't be in this position in the first place. You shouldn't have allowed these three players. These three players are so good that it's not like you've got like a trying to think of a player. It's not like you've got, say, someone like a James Milner or someone of that kind of ilk where you're like, it doesn't really matter. Like, we don't mind them kind of being in that last year. Like, respect to James Milner, but you know what I mean? Like, he ain't gonna kick up too much of a fuss. And even if he does, it is what it is, kind of thing. Then you can bounce. We're talking about three of the best players in your team. Literally three of the best players in your team, and you've now put yourself in this position. That's poor, man. I'm sorry. I don't care which way you want to kind of dress it up. For me, that is poor. So Liverpool definitely need to look at themselves, and in order for them to potentially start this whole new era under Arne Slot and stuff like that, Richard Hughes, in order for them to start off well, I think they're going to need to just sign all three, and then it almost gives that kind of, okay, this is what we're about. This is what we do. We can get these guys tied down, etc., etc. Because if not, you better hope you're getting 2 out of 3, because 1 out of 3, that ain't going to be good enough. I'll tell you that for free. For me, it's just not good enough. 2 of those players have to sign a new deal. Pick whatever 2 that you want, and people in the comment section, let me know which 2 that you'd rather have. But yeah, for me, that's the kind of way, that I'm looking at it. But let's wait and see. The Virgil van Dijk one, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, if he's still performing, then you just keep him. But it's because I don't trust that Liverpool will go out. If I could trust that we were like a Chelsea or Man City or like Arsenal maybe, but we'll say Chelsea, like Manchester City. If I could trust that my owners would go out there and spend the big bucks on, we're gonna go out and sign this guy, this defender, because this is gonna be the guy to come in, then I wouldn't mind. I'll be like, brother, it is what it is, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, these other clubs ain't stressing about players coming and going kind of thing. I don't think that we should be in a position to be stressing. But from when we are that type of club, I'm like, boy, I don't know who we might sign. We might try to sign someone like Sepp van den Berg type of level, just because, oh yeah, he's okay on the data, and well, the data, can you imagine? So yeah, I think it's just one of those, in it, like in terms of how Liverpool Football Club kind of see things moving forward. But let's wait and see. You know, I am at that stage where I'm like, let me just wait and see as to how this all kind of pans out, and then we can kind of take it from there in regards to Virgil van Dijk. But let me know what you think in the comment section, people. Make sure you obviously check out the other two videos in terms of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mohamed Salah. Let me know your thoughts on all three of these players, and then we'll see. Hopefully by the time, like I said, this third video comes out, that all of this is just done and dusted. We're laughing about it. Gee, why did you do the video? It is what it is. So let's just see, man. But I'll catch you guys on the other side. Peace.